Yo, we are back. Another Thursday reviewing the week. What a crazy, crazy week it's been. A lot of positivity this week, I have to say.
Dude, I mean, if this is it's so funny. Like, this is like the most bullish week in crypto in probably like a year. And like Bitcoin moves like 3%. It's amazing, right? I mean, it really is.
It just shows us how down bad we really are, to say the least. I don't know. I mean, Bitcoin jumped like, what was it, 7%?
Five or yeah, maybe 7. Yeah.
Something pretty close to that. Which is really exciting. Where we go from here seems like up. A lot of positivity, right? The ETF, I guess, is like the most bullish news. If you were a arbitrager and you purchased, GBTC, I think literally 6 months ago was about a 50% discount. Now it's only down to 18% discount, right? Then it'll close to zero at some point. That's probably the easiest trade possible if you have a lot of capital.
Well, certainly the like I talked to my brother who's in the the traditional finance space and stock trading, options trading, all that sort of stuff. And that was the way they were playing it 8 months ago. And so they're doing very well. It's just one of those things where if you thought or had inside info on Grayscale or the ETFs and way it was going to go, there was that NAV discount, and it was huge at points. It was like 50-60% discount. Just seemed like a no-brainer, and it allowed you to buy it in your 401k and stuff like that, which is a big deal for a lot of people. And so yeah, it's really good news for those guys.
GM Dogfather, how's it going?
Yeah, GM guys, so I'm trying out my desktop version. So do you hear me okay?
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, the computer way to exit, to access spaces on X, it's pretty solid. I tried it the other day, and so anybody who doesn't know, you don't have to join from your phone anymore. You can actually join from your desktop with your desktop mic and stuff into spaces. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it sounds like the quality is a little bit better. We need to get you like a professional setup though, Dogfather. You got a little bit of an echo, but we need to get you like a super nice mic or something. Rodecaster Pro. Be a professional.
Yeah, I have a few things, but I'm just trying that out for the first time. So I will grab a headset. I think then it's way better. Really stoked to be back from my vacations. So I mean, 2 weeks without doing much. That's like feels like ages. So I was just tweeting a bit here and there. And launching a protocol and stuff like that. So really quiet. So highly recommend it. Just, launch a protocol, launch a project, and then go on vacation.
Is that the strategy?
That's the strategy. My girlfriend was extremely happy that I was like here and there on the space because it was rainy or so. And was like, I just go on the veranda and then was gone for 2 hours. That's you're becoming the most popular person in the beach house. So don't do that. But there's plenty to things talking about. Really looking forward to our space today.
Yeah, lots of macro crypto things to cover today. And then we're also going to cover one of the most macro things to happen to ordinals in quite a long time, .friends protocol by Dogfather.
Let's go.
So I've pulled up here for those that are watching, Jake Chervinsky. I think he works at what company is this? He's for the Blockchain Association, and he's doing a fund. He's been around for a long time. He covered the Grayscale victory and talks about how massive it really is. The DC circuit just delivered a huge embarrassment for the SEC. The SEC is now 0 for 2 going into the Coinbase lawsuit, which should be, I don't know when the date is set for that. But the ETFs are not approved, right? So basically the DC circuit, it was an appeals court where the Grayscale decision was made. It said that the Grayscale's ETF proposal was not designed to prevent fraudulent and manipulative acts and practices. The SEC has spent a full decade denying spot Bitcoin ETF proposals under this reasoning. And basically, the appeals court said that the SEC is bullshit and that they had been treating the Bitcoin ETF or spot Bitcoin ETF differently than every other ETF that had been approved. I mean, the futures product had been live since 2017, 2018. I also saw that Anthony Pompliano posted yesterday that yesterday was the 10-year anniversary from the first Bitcoin ETF that was filed from the Winklevoss twins
Crazy.
back in 2014. They've been trying to get this thing done for 10 years. And how funny it will be if they don't get approved alongside all of it.
I mean, I heard that it could be as early as tomorrow. I mean, I guess the SEC has a couple that are like due for rulings tomorrow. I heard, other tweets and going around Twitter or X today were, oh no, this is going to be, another 6 months. But it could happen relatively quickly. And it is, it's just amazing. Like 10 years, you just see it. I mean, it's so clear as day now how traditional finance is just doing everything they can to, keep crypto down, as you will. But, here we are where it's like, just the good thing about the US system is it has this like court system, which can kind of override these bureaucratic institutions. And hopefully that's what's taking place here. And, we talked about it a little bit offline, but, looks like Coinbase is up next and they'll probably win their suit against SEC as well. So good news all around in crypto, really.
Yeah, Coinbase has really been lawyering up. They've also been shouting from the rooftops on, pretty much how incompetent Gary Gensler is and how they've tried to take every proper regulatory procedure to get it approved. And they've had many, many issues. But Adam, you worked on Wall Street, you had a lot of experience in TradFi. What does it mean if a spot Bitcoin ETF is approved? Why is everyone so bullish on this?
Yeah, the big deal with it is that traditional investors, your dad and mom, can buy the stuff in their 401k. I mean, that's the big thing, right? When you get that massive amount of retail activity, it's a completely different story, right? And also, I mean, there's something to very much be said about just the ability for family offices and actually businesses and all those sort of things to actually buy Bitcoin as well. Other than Grayscale, they didn't really have opportunities, and that's why you saw MicroStrategies a couple of years ago completely pop when they said, "Hey, we're buying Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to be a big part of our holdings." People were buying MicroStrategies as basically their default way of holding Bitcoin. So obviously, it's much more efficient to hold it natively, and so yeah, it just in that way, many more Americans can hold Bitcoin. And obviously, when that happens, when you have more people who want to hold it, what happens to price? It's just a supply and demand issue.
Yeah, I believe our neighbors of America up north in Canada have had a Bitcoin ETF approved, I think, for over a year now at this point. So what happens when it gets approved? Do all these ETFs then have to go acquire Bitcoin? And then what does the product look like? If I'm an investor, just say a retail investor, like, do I have to buy a full Bitcoin? Do I buy sats? What am I buying?
No, then you'll be able to buy they basically issue shares, which are going to be tiny fractions of the Bitcoin. And as it's just kind of balanced. They have to balance it on these kind of regular schedules where they have to basically go out into the market, purchase more Bitcoin to match the number of people who actually hold the shares. So it's just kind of like they're continually re-leveling their holdings. And so what you get is, I mean, very, very close to like a one-to-one relationship where what I hold in my wallet, or my 401k, is actual Bitcoin. It's as close as you can get to kind of holding actual Bitcoin. Very different than what Grayscale currently has, which is like this thing that can be completely out of whack to real price in Bitcoin. And so you get a much more true pricing of Bitcoin to people actually holding these shares. And they trade just like a regular stock. So you'll be able to, I'm sure there'll be options, all sorts of derivatives around it and stuff that'll just make it much more liquid.
You think it's likely that, if you think there's any likelihood that MicroStrategy can take, that portion of their, I don't know, what is it now, 130,000 Bitcoin? I think they're the largest single wallet that exists outside of Satoshi's. Do you think they try to put that in and convert it into an ETF, or are they just going to hold it and just be some chads?
I don't want to think there's really any advantage for them to do that. So no, I wouldn't think they do any of that sort of stuff. Now that they know how to hold and have a system set up to, in theory, hold Bitcoin. but no, I don't think there's any kind of advantage to them. But if you think about it, like other companies, okay, Apple has $100 million that they want to, put into Bitcoin. They now have an efficient means to do that.
For the regulatory approval. Yeah, I know the Winklevoss twins, I think when they bought that Bitcoin back in 2012, 2013, they spent, I believe it was $13 million on like 120,000 Bitcoin at the time. So I know they've probably been waiting for that for 10 years, just sitting in their vaults. I don't know if you guys have read Bitcoin Billionaires, but good book talking about how they met Charlie Shrem in 2012, I believe. And then they went and spent about $13 million from that Facebook lawsuit and went and bought, about 120,000 Bitcoin on the open market. They were buying it, they said, for like months. And then they took their seed phrase, they made 3 copies of it and cut it each one into 4 different portions and then dispersed it across 12 banks in the I forget what's called, the area in the back where you could put all your stuff. So they'll have
the
to
security boxes,
the security box. Yeah, so they're gonna have to go reassemble all that like it's Exodia or something like that to kind of piece it all together.
If you guys haven't read, there's an interesting article on like how Coinbase, and this was 8-10 years ago, about how they would create these private keys and that sort of thing. It's a system which, I don't know, man. It seems like bad thing happened with that. Like, have you ever read that article or listened to that? Like, they go into like basically one of those Faraday cages, right? So like no, signals can come in and stuff, and then they print out the keys, and then they literally like with a hammer like destroy the printer, and it's like, what is this, man? This is like crazy. It's crazy town. But anyway.
Yeah, that's like the air gapped laptops too.
Yeah,
exactly. I had one of those for a while. But in other news, there was another win that kind of went under the radar regarding Uniswap and DeFi. DeFi got a subtle win as well.
Totally.
Yeah, it came down to, which court was this? Adam, do you want to give a explanation of this while I scroll through it on the stream?
Yeah, well, basically it's Uniswap was they were trying to come after Uniswap for shit tokens, basically, right?
Yeah, it's like liabilities, right?
They would be liable for bad tokens or whatever, and basically the court shut it down, rightly so. Again, right? It's like and so yeah, it's another one of these where obviously the other one is Tornado Cash, and Tornado Cash is different because that's terrorist type activity, money laundering. This was like, okay, retail. Do they have a kind of responsibility or a liability to protect retail in this decentralized protocol? And the judge basically ruled that no, they don't. So a lot of people have been scammed by the wrong contract address or this or that, or even just tokens, right? Getting dumped, losing money on your Pepe or whatever. And the court ruled that that no, they're not responsible for that. So this is just another big one where it's like, okay, do we want freedom in this area or do we want tyranny? And freedom wins again. So
again, awesome. Some subtle wins. This excerpt from the was it the plaintiffs, ones that were suing Uniswap's quite funny because they use the word scam tokens in it. Due to the protocol's decentralized nature, the identities of the scam token issuers are basically unknown and unknowable, leaving plaintiffs with an identifiable injury but no identifiable defendant. Undaunted, they now sue the Uniswap defendants and the VC defendants, hoping that this court might overlook the fact that the current state of the cryptocurrency regulation leaves them without recourse. And basically the court said, nope, they are, the VCs are free. They can go and launch. On kind of the other side of this as well, regarding Tornado Cash, it's quite interesting because you're like, okay, well, why is, I forget what their names were, the two gentlemen that just got arrested recently, and there's one that's been in jail for a while overseas. Why are these guys held liable and then Uniswap is not, right? It's kind of almost the same idea because you can definitely launder money through scam tokens on Uniswap.
For sure.
I don't think anyone's really denying that. And I was listening to an interesting debate, and let Dogfather back up. And the whole idea of Tornado Cash was that the guys were profiting off of the money laundering because there was a Tornado Cash token, and the creators of Tornado Cash were selling their token for profit while they were laundering money through it. Of course, they're not the ones, right? We believe that, you know, code is independent of humans' interactions, right? Or deploying, right? You shouldn't be held liable for putting code out there. But I guess because there was a token associated with it and they were profiting off of illicit activity, that is where the DOJ and was it the New York State Attorney Office are coming after them for. And I think this is probably going to be a large pivot towards a lot of these other people. Like you saw BitBoy kind of step down and say he has a drug issue and all these other things. I think he's really just trying to separate himself from his platform, right? From doing the same idea, from profiting off of all of these types of scams and shit like that. So I think that's probably where the US courts are going to start going after is, hey, we'll step away if it's just the code itself. But if you're profiting off of any type of illicit activity, then we're going to come after you because they have a much stronger case, because we're now seeing through the Uniswap case and through the the two other cases, the Grayscale and the other ones, they're saying, hey, you know, if you put the code out there, then you're fine. You're good to go.
Interesting take, yeah.
Although Uniswap has a token as well, so who really knows here? I guess, right? Maybe because the token is a DAO, so I guess, you know, they're taking some liability off of the holding company itself, and the DAO owns it. This is the same thing that Eric Voorhees did with Shapeshift back in, I think it was like 2 years ago, where the U.S. government basically came in and said you need to KYC your customers, and he came in and said, well, I guess Shapeshift's now a DAO. Sorry. And that was then, you know, kind of wiped his hands clean off of that.
Yeah.
And it was
I mean,
good.
it was kind of, you know, Eric, unfortunately, it's like, you know, and I think he regrets kind of bending to them because they did do the KYC thing at the beginning and, you know, basically killed the company. And yeah, he is has a lot of, you want to find somebody who's been kind of destroyed by regulation or that company destroyed by regulation. Shapeshift is a perfect example. You know, whether these guys with Tornado Cash, my gut says they didn't, but you know, certainly the government who's prosecuting them want to say that they were like directly involved with like laundering North Korean, you know, money. And, you know, do I believe that? No, I don't believe that. But, you know, can they prove that in a court of law? I mean, I don't know. We'll see. You know, certainly hope they win. You know, but it is what it is, man. Look, the government's coming in all sides, right? This is a direct threat. DeFi, cryptocurrency is a direct threat to the existing power structures. So the battle lines are drawn.
Yeah, Elizabeth Warren is down horrific right now. Screaming in her office at Gary Gensler, trying to find the next replacement, you know, while we're all shouting from the rooftops. And on X, we're getting now what we want, and that has been crypto payments. But what cryptocurrency, I think, is still to be determined. One can speculate that it might be Doge, but X received a crypto payments license, I believe, on like from 5 different states, and from a current, which is actually called a currency transmitter license. So Rhode Island's regulators have granted X a currency transmitter license, making a step forward for the company's foray into the financial services sector. They also got a license from, looks like, Arizona, Georgia, Maryland, Michigan, Missouri, New Hampshire, and Rhode Island. So staying on the East Coast, I guess we got Arizona. Adam, what do you think of this? Is this something that was written in the charts for months? Has it been, do all the Doge bag holders, are they just smoking some opium, thinking that Dogecoin is going to be, you know, the payment currency of X, or are they just going to use a stable coin or maybe build something themselves?
I'm sure. Well, I'm not sure at all what they're going to do. Obviously, you have to have money be able to transmit if you want to be an everything app, right? It just has to happen. How they do it, my gut says he goes more of a traditional, route. Maybe he'll do something similar to what PayPal did with like a stable coin, the X coin, which will be like a stable coin. That would seem logical. Elon sometimes does outlier stuff, but I think most of what Elon does is very logical. And so that would seem to be, since he already has a pathway forward, that's what PayPal did, would seem to make sense to do that. I think Doge is all just hopium. I mean, I'd say there's a 0 chance that happens, but could be wrong. But no, I would think he just follows the path that PayPal did. And we'll see how it goes. I mean, people were calling it diamonds, and are you going to get rewards for posting and stuff like that? This idea, like I love it, and I think people, when the internet first started, people loved this idea of micropayments and all these sort of things. But will it ever happen? My gut says no. Like not on these traditional platforms. Like if we get a decentralized, platform that actually hits, is it possible? Yes. But what's the benefit to X of doing kind of micropayments and stuff like this? It just doesn't feel like this is going to happen. It feels like they're going to do the same traditional model, which is ad-based revenue, distributing that revenue to the highest, producers. Those people tweet about it. Look how much I made. I made $5,000 this month. Ha ha ha. Everybody else gets motivated to do it. And you just get this, basically they get free content created because UI and most people on this platform make no money. Right. And so, we're here to grind and try and figure it out. And they hold it out there as a carrot, but most people are never going to reach that sort of status to earn money on X. But, so I think they're just going to stick to the traditional model. And but certainly payments and a payment system, if he wants to be more than just an ad-based model, like you have to get there. And so this is like first steps.
It says in this Cointelegraph article, people familiar with the company's plans have indicated X will initially offer fiat currency transaction services similar to PayPal, which Musk also co-founded, with room for future crypto integrations. It's interesting. We know Lon's been looking at X as this crypto portal. I think you're just seeing it. It's very glaringly obvious. Also, I don't have the chart in front of me, but I saw that crypto is also the largest community on Twitter.
Is that true?
Yeah. So crypto was one.
All 500 of us. Maybe that shows how small these communities are on X, man.
You'd be surprised. So right, we hang out in the NFT world. Working at Emblem is great because you also get to dabble in like DeFi and some of these other things to look around. And so I've been doing a bunch of research, and I start looking into like bridges, and then I go down these DeFi rabbit holes, and then I come across these like Discords and different communities that have to do with like DeFi and gaming that are literally like tens of thousands of people deep, and you're just like, where the hell has this been hiding from? It's like it's so siloed into this little NFT world where you have 15,000 people trading on ETH and you have 1,500 people trading on Bitcoin.
Yep.
Right? It just like it's maybe 20, 30,000 people really. But when you go to DeFi, dude, DeFi is like 10 times larger. We don't want to admit it, but really the people who are moving around, millions of dollars, you can't do that in NFTs. You can do that right now with layer 1 coins, or you do it in DeFi in a different world.
Well, it is interesting. When I was on a space with Mario like last week or a couple weeks ago, and he started talking about they're doing other shows, and he said he couldn't believe it because one of the guys one of his co-hosts was like, let's do a football show, right? And do a football space. And they did what he was like, he just eventually caved and was like, okay, let's do it. Dude, they had like 90,000 people in a football space. Like, I was like, what? Like, how is it that I don't even see that on my feed? Like at all, like at all, it's like, you do get so siloed on these things, man.
It's tough. Yeah. So the sports community was actually number 3 from that chart. So with crypto people, we've been trying, I think the community has been trying to kind of pull away from Twitter for a long time, and have dabbled into all these other platforms, Discord and Reddit. And then now moving into some of the social graph stuff like Farcaster and Lens and Friendtech. And every time and time again, crypto community just comes right back to X, right back to Twitter. I think it's so rooted and grounded with culture in history, I really think it's tough to really pull away from it. I really don't see the community leaving X ever. And with Elon, he could simply kill friend tech by just allowing token gated spaces, right? Or token gated, private channels. And he's probably going to do it, right? So he's going to wipe out all of this and put it into one, become a similar version of Facebook, and then maybe 5 years down the road, the decentralized social media thing takes off, and now you have a parallel platform. It's just these central platforms are so easy to scale from a central perspective, and we know decentralized platforms are very tough to scale, right? Especially when it's like a decentralized model. So we'll see what happens, man. But I'm excited. I don't know if it'll be Doge. Maybe it'll be for fun. We've seen tipping. We saw the Doge party community actually allow for tipping on Twitter with Doge party tokens. I think you could do it with counterparty tokens as well back in the day. And you can also tip Doge on Reddit. It didn't really get much traction, right? It's more of a fun thing. I think I was having this debate with Sol. I wonder if he's in here or not. Yesterday, we were talking about the difference of tipping versus crowdfunding. And I was like, to me, tipping has to be forced. Oh, I think we were talking about on your actually it's on your Twitter or on one of your posts. Tipping has to be incentivized for people to do it, right? And generally, if you think about tipping, in the real world, it happens after a service, right? It's like a reward. It's like, thank you for your service, or you were entertained by whatever they were doing, so you tip them some cash. Whereas crowdfunding, you're getting the money up front to then perform the action, whereas tipping, the action's been performed already. And on Twitter or X, I don't know. I find tipping to be, I don't think tipping will work very well.
Agreed.
But just gated content tends to work, the subscription model in some situations. But also, I think on Twitter, it's going to also be hard to token gate some of this stuff. And you're seeing it even with their super subscription model. When you've been putting content out for free for, 5-10 years, it's like, why would your audience pay for something when you've been doing it for free for so long? Yeah. I don't know. It's a dilemma. So maybe crypto is that avenue to where people will feel like they're tipping because they could finally do something with their shit coins for once.
Well, I mean, you could definitely see like on X, like the subscription model, for example, whatever. I follow Elon and I subscribe, and he makes some posts, during the month where only subscribers can be in the comments, right? Or something like those would seem to make sense. So that sort of thing makes sense. I don't think the tipping has any traction. In the same way that like microtransactions, I don't think really, work. I've never seen a model that actually works for that, but yeah, I don't know.
It's going to be a very, very exciting world to see what happens. I'll be watching for the Coinbase stuff. We're going to be watching for X for all the different updates. Maybe he surprises us and puts Doge out there.
But speaking of these decentralized social media platforms, dude, we should dive into with the Dogfather right now and go deep on this, man.
Yeah, .friends protocol. We have our favorite dog father in the world. I wonder how many dogs you actually do own. Launched a protocol called
Dog. No, he's a cat guy.
Plot twist. He's launched .friends. It's a new social graph tool on ordinals using SBTs. Let's dive in, bro. Give us the rundown of what .friends is, and also how you decided to launch a protocol right at the beginning of vacation.
Yeah, thanks, man. Just to clarify, so the Dogfather comes more from not really from owning a dog, but rather because I was like a big Snoop fan back in the days. Actually, I own 3 cats IRL, so I'm really not living up to my name.
Told you, bro. Did I call that or what, bro? Did I call that or what?
That's more like my girlfriend and the kids. They rather prefer the cats. So IRL, I'm more like into that. Not actually owning a dog. But coming back to the Friends protocol, so basically this was coming from a discussion with Leonidas. So I'm a big fan of Art.io, and talked to him about 100 ideas I had, and he was always like, yeah, you know, our to-do list is full. That will be like something midterm. And I was like, okay, if they don't have the time to implement all these ideas, why not just implement your own protocol on, you know, just independent on from some website that's doing that, you know, on auth.io. Let's just do a very simple protocol where we just put in some inscription your friends' addresses. It's super simple, right? So you kind of deploy your friend's ID so one wallet can have one friend ID. And then you just add your friends' addresses. So it's extremely simple. So for example, today I added Jake's address because I was collecting a few addresses of closer friends, and just added them in some update transaction to my friends' ID. And now I have more friends that I trust, and that will build the reputational score on their side. So basically, what you can do with all that is the more of your friends are adding your address to their friends ID, they show some trust towards you. And if you have many friends doing so, that's like increasing your reputational score, right? So that's the very simple part. So if someone is just having one friend who trusts him, that will be a low friend score. And if someone's having 50 or 100 friends that add his or her address to the friends ID, then you have a very high reputational score. And we all know that reputation is a big thing, right? So, and this is on chain. So this is not just some Twitter followers or some joint friends on Discord. This is like platform independent. And reputation may matter a lot in cases like someone is launching a new collection. May this be a person, you do some due diligence, right? Because you don't want to get rocked. Is this a person who is new to the community, or is it someone who is like deeply rooted? Someone having 50 friends or 100 friends, kind of like, you know, telling their communities that this is a trustworthy person. So you would rather buy, you know, this artist's collection piece rather someone who's having a very low reputation score or none. The same with you hire someone as a community manager for your project, and you don't know this guy, and none of your friends know this guy, but there may be a good signal from the broader community that, okay, this is a good person, right? So this is a good citizen. Think about AuthFi, right? We now talk about collateralized loans, and one key ingredient for some other products may be that you have a good reputational score or not. Okay, maybe you get a cheaper loan, maybe you need less collateral if you have a good reputational score. I think the possibilities are endless once this network is bigger and more robust. And we talk about like if you have 1,000 or 2,000 people really active in there, we can already have some low noise signal. And that's why we built that. So I'm coming from traditional finance as well from my background, and I did like more than 10 years credit scoring stuff. This is extremely similar. This is extremely similar because it's creating a low noise, high signal, you know, score that can be used in all kinds of situations. So even though friends may sound, you know, funny and, you know, a bit like a meme, it has a very, very serious application in, you know, in the real life.
So tell me, like, let's fast forward, we'll say a year from now. Like, what is the expectations for this type of protocol? Is it something that's mostly used for social credit scores? Is it for friend tracking? Where do you see this going? And then also on top of that, why choose ordinals over something like Ethereum that has a lot more functionality?
Well, I think I'm a big fan of ordinals, right? And I think they will be around even once we are not there anymore, right? So I think that's the most durable platform you can choose. And this is a very long-term project. So this is not something where I think about in weeks or months. I think this has really long-term potential. And I'm a big believer into the ordinal space, so this is why I'm building there. And it's also extremely simple, actually, to do that. So I have partners with Oddbit, which is a launchpad service. And they were like, they're helping me with the indexing. But other than that, it's extremely simple and robust, and we can roll that out to more indexers once we have enough space. That's why I picked, Bitcoin and the ordinals, because I think this is like the biggest network, the biggest chain, extremely secure. It's also some, it costs some transaction costs, which I think is also something like an anti-spam mechanism. So I don't think that 50 cents or $1 is, I think that's exactly the right amount, that you're not spamming, but it's not, prohibitive. And that's the reason for Bitcoin. And where this will be in 1 year, man, that's like asking me what's the Bitcoin price in 1 year. I don't know. So I will push hard, and I will put a lot of brain cells into that. And I hope we are big enough that this has some use case, right? So this is an experimental thing. We are still in the second phase of the private beta. So in the first phase, I was, inviting a few people to join. Though we had a big push once some Chinese BRC degens went into that. I think 1,000 of those are like these people grabbing some digits. So they're just.
Are you telling them like, hey man, you can't sell this?
We told them, but they don't listen. They don't read, they don't listen. They just aped into some digits, and I mean, now most of the digits are gone. That's how it is. So I think it makes way more sense to have a Jake.friends or a Dogfather.friends or maybe one day an Adam.friends rather than just some number where you don't have any connection to. So I think it makes more sense that way. So right now we may have 100 or so active people, and the others were just aping into that. And now in the second phase of the private beta, we are inviting whole communities to join and then give away like 10 to 50 access codes just to roll it out a bit more. And once we've done with that, we have a few more ideas, and obviously later this year we will have just we go public and everyone can join. That once we have polished some rough edges and added a few more pieces to the website. And this weekend there will be a really cool update where you can actually see the leaderboard, where you see something like looking like a bubble chart, where we see all connections, where you can click on your first connections and see with whom they are connected, like LinkedIn, where you have a connection of a connection, where you really see this social graph. So I can see who's friends of Jake, and if I trust Jake and I like, okay, if he thinks this is a good person, I may also have a good opinion about this person and may also add this person to my friends, something like this. And I think this is pretty cool.
Yeah, I want to ask one question, then I'm going to call on Kane right afterwards. What technology do you use for .friends protocol that makes it non-transferable, right? We're in the ordinal space and you're using ordinals, but they are transferable. And since there's no smart contracts, I find it tough to enforce something that makes it non-transferable, but also holds information. So how are you making this possible?
Oh, this is just done via the indexer. So if you transfer your Jake.friends to some other address, it's kind of like becoming inactive. So you cannot use it anymore. You cannot update it. So basically it's dead afterwards. So this is really just like on the indexer part. Got it.
Go ahead, Kane.
Yeah. What's up, everybody? I have to always do the eat your vegetables hour, which I don't know why, but I feel compelled to. So, Dogfather, I've seen a couple of iterations of ideas like this, and I think every one of them is always like the most well-intentioned. However, there's two things that I always find with these type of ideas, and it's angel dust and 11-foot ladders. So for every 10-foot wall, there's an 11-foot ladder. So for every great protocol, especially for something that's designed to garner trust, that's like prime time real estate for every thief, robber, rug puller, flim flam man, and scammer on the planet. Because once I can look good here, I no longer have to do all that weird community work for a while long and get people's trust. Like if you look at who someone's followed by, which is basically the same concept, right? Of the social credit part. Who someone's followed by. Well, they're followed by this body, that body, this body, that body. And if I'm really doing my due diligence, not just doing a discount double check, I can reach out to, I see Emblem Vault follows them. Let me reach out. I see Jake follow. Yo, Jake, you know this guy? Oh, yeah. That's so-and-so from such and such. Okay, great. And I'll reach out to a few more people, especially if I'm thinking about hiring somebody. Because the trick is, if you really want to play it safe, you shouldn't hire anyone that you don't know and no one can vouch for. That is the beautiful thing about community. Not to say that there isn't great people that you don't know and you shouldn't try to make a new friend every day, but there's that part. Then there's the part, so that's the 11-foot ladder. The angel dust part is, I am a good guy. I am vouched for by a lot of good people. But what they don't know, what you don't know, is that in the last 6 weeks, I've discovered that I think angel dust is delicious. I love it. It's my favoriteest thing. I love it more than you, this community, my kids, my rent, anything. And I'm going to do anything for it. I have now become an unscrupulous individual. I have a long sleeve shirt and zombie bites. You don't know it. And nothing can protect you from that. And I think the worst thing we can do is give people a false sense of security as far as who or what they can trust, because the ultimate security is just being vigilant, right? I mean, how does the protocol protect against that? Also, if I get hacked, all the credit I built up is gone because I lost my token. Like, would that be how it works?
Yeah, perfect remarks. And I'm not saying that this is like the magical crystal ball and the only key performance indicator they should look at. That's definitely just a part of the story. And obviously a personal, if I have a friend and this one is personally vouching for another one, that's the ideal case. I'm fully with you. But I may not always be in that situation. In particular, let's say now the space is relatively small. Let's say if you have 100,000 or 1 million people in there. I mean, you cannot always know someone who knows someone because then the space is just too large. And obviously, someone can always game some systems. So this is why you should never trust just one indicator. But I think it's a good tool. You know, it may be a good tool to have some information, in particular in situations where you don't have a personal relationship. And I'm not saying that you should hire your CDO just based on that score. Obviously not, right? But it may be helpful. And yeah, I mean, people can just contact 10, 20 people and try to get a higher score. I'm not saying that this is not possible, but it will be harder for bad people. And let's say if you become a bad actor, and I see that a person I was kind of like vouching for in my friend's protocol, if I see that this is becoming, drugging some people, I can delete this address from my friend's ID, and I will do. And this is also an indicator that someone who had like 30 mentions a month ago now just have 20. This will be a very bad signal. So I hope this is alleviating a few of your concerns, but I'm fully with you. It's not perfect, and it's not the only one you should look at.
Social graphs are hard, man. Social
Yeah.
graphs are hard. That's why they've been trying these for over almost 10 years now at this point. I'll be following along. I'm a big fan, right? I'm a big fan of on-chain guest lists. I think having a friend list will provide a lot of opportunity in this like primarily digital world, not just for like metaverse type things, but for airdrops and rewards. And this is a thought I had too when I was trying to do the on-chain guest list, is if I'm launching my own project, I'm probably going to go to certain friend lists, right? Like Adams.friends or Dogfathers.friends, and then give those people the allow list to mint my collection. Because now you could kind of curate the type of people that you want in your community based off of your faith in that person or relationship with that leader of that list. So that's just like one idea of many that you can do. But that's kind of where I see a lot of this going.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, like, look, who controls it now? It's like controlled by these platforms, right? And I mean, we just talked about it, how we get so siloed So any way we can kind of take back control and put it back in the hands of the individual, I think is great. Although we haven't figured it out yet. We're still working.
Exactly. So this is why I really like your idea, Jake, with the airdrops and allow list, because now you have all these lists of addresses. Let's say you have your 10 trusted friends, and then they also have, their friends list, and then it's like, okay, now you have 100 addresses to drop something or to allow them into your Discord. That's way more convenient than, just try to get their addresses somehow by DMing them or by writing emails and stuff like that. That's the convenient and the Web3 way. And I'm just, guessworking whether AuthFi is a thing, but maybe it will be airdrops. So this is very experimental. So I'm open to all these suggestions, and everyone can do whatever they like with that. We will see who will build on that. But first, of course, we need to roll it out to have some critical mass. This is like this cold start problem. So of course, we do some, try to create some awareness and tell, okay, if you're early, your friend score will have a higher rate and stuff like that, just to spur interest. So I think in 1 year, we are hopefully further down the road with some more use cases. And let's try to do this the Web3 way. Right? That's even if X is not there anymore, if Discord is not there anymore, hopefully Bitcoin will be there, right? And there will be one index who's doing the work. And if that's in 20 years, it will still be there, and I can still see your address.
Yeah, let's hope so. The non-speculative nature of it is fascinating because crypto is 99.9% speculation. So, flipping the coin on its head and trying something new. Always encourage that. Go ahead, Kane.
One last question, I guess. As far as my list, my favorite friendlies list, can anyone see that, or can just I see that? The reason I ask is because it's like why OpenSea came up with the hidden wallet. It was like a few months after I was like, what? Anyone can send anything to anyone? Well, that sounds crazy. That's like the guy outside the store with the CD saying, "Yo, you like hip hop?" and he can magically put his CD in your bag. Technology. He can just think that shit like a wizard, and now his CD is in everyone's bag that passes him. Because all people will do is start spamming, influencer lists to where almost like it defeats the purpose, and your friends now have to have a secret wallet.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, another great point, Kane. I think you really get it. I mean, this is something very transparent. So you can go to the website, you can click on my friends ID, and you see everyone who is friends with me and who trust me. So you see both types. So the outgoing friends, so from my side, and also the ingoing friends, so from other people. Everything is transparent. And then you decide how much you link to this address. You can, for example, add your Twitter, you can add your sets names, you can add whatever kind of stuff you want into some notes field to make it, like your profile. And we will also add some more functionality like that to your profile. So it will be very transparent and very public. And obviously, you need to be aware that some people may send you some, nasty ordinals with some, stuff on there. But maybe someone sends you an OMB. You never know, right? But this is public, right? So you would not do that with your hardware wallet with 100 BTC in there or whatnot. You would just do that with something where you're comfortable with that everyone is seeing that. Like on auth.io, if you have a profile there, everyone knows that you own this address, and then everyone knows that these are, the ordinals and the BRC20 you own, right? You would not put something like there that you don't want other people to see. It's just the same idea.
Dope.
Solid. The mixtape example from Ken, that was awesome. Yeah, dropping my hot mixtape into everyone's wallet. I was in San Diego over the weekend celebrating some friends' birthdays, and my My friend somehow got finagled into buying a $6 mixtape CD, dude. Who buys CDs nowadays, right?
Dude, I wouldn't even have a way to play it. It's like, what do I
know.
even do with that, dude?
You made eye contact, didn't he? Your friend made eye contact. I know what happened. I wasn't even there.
Yeah,
but
he lost. He lost the battle.
Never make eye contact. You got to keep it moving like don't. Once you lock in, it's like a Death Star. They're gonna beam you.
That's funny, man.
So funny. Moving on, I think a lot of people have been nagging me about the Emblem migration. Yes, it's still happening. Yes, it's still going on. Yes, it is quite a freaking process that we've been doing. So for the updates, right, we're into I think this is week 7 now, right? The expectations were 2 to 4 weeks. Sorry, guys, tech is hard. Tech is hard. Tech is very hard. There's a lot of things on the back end that we've had to do, including moving to Alchemy. We've moved from Infra to Alchemy. We've updated the back end of the system. We've organized and formalized our image storage process. Oh man, there's a lot. I think it was last week, earlier this week. We deployed all the contracts. All the contracts are deployed. You could literally go on chain and look at it. There's like 36, I think. I've spent the last 2 days creating descriptions and icons and banners for all these collections, man. Dude, there's so many. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. It never ends. And then it's just like every time we're ready to migrate, I think today or tomorrow, you'll see the first collection migrated.
Yep.
Every time we're about to do it, something happens, right? So it's like yesterday or the last 2 days, we had to spend, putting royalties on these contracts, and you have to mint a collection to it to set these royalties, because today is the last day to set royalties on OpenSea, and you get royalties for 6 months before it all goes to 0, right? So having a little bit of a bridge there, right, is a little nice. Also, the last 2 days, we've seen a few very rare Pepes get vaulted into the curated collection. The Ric Flair rare Pepe, there's only 3 of them made it into the curation. Also, a Nakamoto card rare Pepe was for sale, and oh man, going back and forth with this person, so we're trying to figure this out. So the new curated collections requires you to put an asset in the vault before it could be minted. You do not need to verify it, because the system requires full asset. So if I choose the Nakamoto card needs to be in the vault before you can mint it, right? Yep. So we're coming across this issue, and I'm going to address, we're attempting to solve this too while doing this. A lot of the people who are familiar with Emblem Vault, right? Historically, through the Legacy Collection, you go to the description, you click on the link, it shows you the contents inside the vault, where there you could go see the wallet address, and then you could go find the Nakamoto card on X-Chain, and then you could manually verify, right? We do understand that additional layer of security is a preference and probably needed. But with the new ERC 1155 contracts interacts with OpenSea, that option is not available anymore for us. And it's because of this back-end way of how we add serial numbers internally to the ERC 1155s, because if you know, semi-fungible, right? So if you have a supply of 300, they all look the same, but they are on the back end, they're serialized 1 through 300, so that we know which ones are which on our system. But with the way that is set up, does not interact with OpenSea. So that is not an option anymore. But the system is set up to where you actually need the asset inside the vault for it to be minted. Unless somebody has found a massive exploit somehow, that is the way that it works. But we're coming to, a middle ground where we have to create now, I guess, a third-party tool. Whether we host it on emblem.finance is probably where we're going to put it, to where you could put the vault address, or you could put, the OpenSea link, or you could put the token ID number in there, and it'll tell you the wallet address that is inside the vault. That option will come. It's not coming right now. We're exploring it. We had to literally take an entire day from the migration or 2 to discuss what we're going to do for this, because people are not trusting the system, even though that's the way that the system is built. For example, there's one guy, you could go into it's actually kind of funny. You go in the Emblem Discord, look into curated collections. This guy wanted to buy a rare Pepe Nakamoto card, for sale for 55 ETH. He asked if it was real. I said it was real. He said, check with the devs to see if it's real. Checked with the devs. Devs said it was real. I went on to, he said he still didn't trust it. And so I was like, okay. I went and found the transaction of the vault being created. And I also found the transaction on Xchain of the rare Pepe being sent to this vault that are 2 minutes apart from each other. So I sent him those two things. He said he still didn't trust it. And I was like, man, I don't know what else to tell you. He just wanted the wallet address inside the vault. So we came to this where still doesn't trust it, even though 2 people from the team have told him it's real. The system is telling him it's real, and Xchain is telling him that it's real. Still having an issue trusting it. So we're trying to tackle, this issue so that you guys can trust the system, because you do not need to look inside the vault.
Well, I mean, we do have this, like, look, it's like these are legacy people using this new system that we've developed, right? Where the system itself is the mechanism of trust. Because the old Emblem vault, right? You literally did have to go in and I remember making videos on, like, how to verify what's inside a vault, right? So yeah, do still be safe out there, guys. But we are building this system to take away that need, and so we're excited about that. Like, it's gonna be great. But for all these OGs, man, they remember the days, when you just had to verify, and so we're still there, which is fine. Always, guys, always reach out to us. Certainly for any large purpose or a purchase, we are more than happy to double check it for you.
Yep. Yeah. Just open a support ticket in the Discord. Please, if you do have issues, please open a support ticket, because there are scammers in the Discord. They will try to trick you. Always anything private when it comes to addresses, please open a ticket so that we can have a private conversation about it. So contracts, I believe there's about 36 contracts. There are some new ones that we've added, which I will name off here in a second, that are not listed in the original Medium article. So one is Rinkeby. We added one for Rinkeby. Turns out there's actually a lot of Rinkeby assets in the legacy vaults. Having to chase down how to even spin this back up to migrate them has been a process, because unless one of you guys in here has an archival node of Rinkeby network, man, it has been a pain in the ass to try.
Yeah, guys, reach out to we've contacted literally dozens of people. So we need to find somebody with a old Rinkeby node running somewhere.
Yeah. Bitcoin Apes is getting a curated collection. That'll be interesting to see how that pans out.
We'll see how long that one lasts before it gets taken down.
Put in the target on the back. But yeah, I see Equilibrium's in here. I know that the team has gone through the extra steps to change the metadata, do what they need to do. So any type of additional information, yeah, please reach out to us. We also are adding fake commons and dank rares are 2 additional ones as well that we've already deployed the contract for it. I mean, you guys, if anyone's really interested, you could just go look at the Emblem deployer contract that's all on chain, and you can see the kind of activity that's been happening. So those are the 4 additional ones outside of all the protocol stuff. We've deployed some extra ones, and we're just finding unique edge cases for this. So for those that are listening, and maybe tell your friends this as well, there's going to be multiple waves of this migration. So we're planning on doing maybe 1 to 2 per day, because we have to formalize it. We have to work out the kinks. But any vault that has more than 1 asset in it is going to get moved to the protocol level, or it's going to get moved to the open collection. So for example, if you have 2 rare Pepes in a single vault, it's going to the counterparty collection. And the reason why is, let's say you have a Nakamoto card and a Ric Flair card in a vault. Which one is it supposed to go to, right? And we're not going to make that decision on behalf of the users, because there is a possibility you don't realize that there's 2 in there, and then you go list it for sale and you go lose your assets. So what's going to happen is we're going to go through these waves of moving everything. The legacy collection will probably have some left over because of stuff that's left in contracts for fractional stuff, or loans that are still outdated, or whatever custom contracts that people have these legacy vaults locked in. Those are not being moved as well. But after we get the first wave of migration, I already know what's going to happen. So we're going to have this conversation probably a few weeks from now. A bunch of people are going to be like, why did my Pepes, or why did these get moved to the counterparty collection and not to these individual collections? And we're going to say, hey, well, you have multiple assets in this vault, and we're not going to make that decision for you. So if users want, you can go do this now. If you don't care about what is in the vault, let's say you have a Nakamoto card and then you have a bunch of airdrops that people have sent, because this is a large case that we've seen. If you go in the vault, you could hide the other assets that are there so that it just displays the Nakamoto card. And if that's the case and you want that, you could go into these individual vaults, hide everything outside of the one asset. There's literally a button that says hide. And so then our system will read that vault as only one asset and it'll get moved to the proper place. If not, you're going to have to go do it on your own, or during the second wave when we announce this, and then inevitably a bunch of people complain that their stuff got moved to the wrong collection. We'll have to go through this again. But I do believe, don't kill me if I get this wrong, but I do believe today the first one should be migrated. We're starting very small with some of the smaller collections. I believe Age of Rust, it's the first one. There's like 9 or 10 in there. And then Bitcoin stamps, fake rares, and all the counterparty stuff, all the counterparty fun. The Namecoin auto renewal feature is returning to all the Namecoin stuff. So that will be there as well. I had a few people ask about that. And I think that might be it. The Emblem.finance UI upgrade is looking better every day. I'm excited to share this with you guys. The team's worked really hard on this. It's going to simplify the process a lot. Very straightforward. You can create the entire vault on one page. That's all you need. 3 different options. Going to simplify it. And then, of course, we're also working on a few other things on the back end that, I think everybody will be very, very excited about when that does surface. I think that's it. I don't know. I'll probably remember it right after this, which is ultimately ever the case. But any questions, feel free to reach out. Those are the things that are happening. If you want any updates, Discord, or just go look at it on chain, and you can easily go follow it. So here we are now. There's one other topic, that I found very interesting this week that, also went under the radar. It has to do with Super Rare. Super Rare launched
very interesting.
Yeah, they offer the
last gasp of air they're reaching for here. I don't know, man.
Give me explanation. What is this? Because I actually haven't looked into it too much, but I saw a bunch of people posting about it yesterday.
Yeah, so this is basically they're doing this kind of staking, what they're calling curated staking or curation staking, which, just to give kind of a reminder for everybody, back in 21, these guys really, really hit with this idea of like a token for their platform, which I've talked about it a bunch, where I had just friends of mine were like, bro, you got to go on there and just start earning this token. Basically, people were just wash trading back and forth, earning the rare token or rarey token. Literally guys were making thousands of dollars a day. They were just earning the token. You would get a distribution like once a week, and then they were just dumping it. And guys were making literally thousands and thousands of dollars doing this. Unfortunately for their platform is they did not take that momentum. For a point there, I think they were even bigger than OpenSea, but they didn't take that momentum and carry it forward. And the token kind of died or whatever. And the platform, kind of died with it. And I think this is like the next generation of that, which is like, okay, you can stake this, and you basically stake, as far as I understand it, stake it either on artists or in what they call pools that you can create, which may be artists or collections or community members themselves. And you're doing this like staking, and you're getting rewards based on, I'm sure, sales. And I'm sure they've created this like complicated process for it, but to try and get engagement, right? And so like if I'm on Twitter and I'm talking about this new artist on Rarey, I have a vested interest if his stuff sells or, that sort of stuff happens, which again, this is kind of like what we're all kind of talking about here, going around this issue of a social token and how do you get rewarded for it. They're taking another stab at it here. And I think, at the top level, the highest level, you're just like, well, how's this going to be manipulated? Right. Because it's not Dogfather's token where, there's no vested interest. This is all interest. Right. So everything I do here, I want to be rewarded for, paid for somehow. And it's going to be interesting to see how people start gaming the system almost immediately.
So I've pulled up here. If you go to app.rare.xyz, you can see all the stats for this, for their curated staking. X copy, of course, is number one. It has 47 stakers, right? Not a lot, really, but still beta experimental. Total rare staked is 796,000. And then number two is I don't know who this is. Bodo. I don't know who that is, but is number two, and then followed by where is this? Followed by Van Arman, who's a popular AI artist, and then somebody else, and then dies with most likes. So kind of subtle participation, not a crazy amount, right? Even Frontech has, triple this for even the highest of their token pool or their keys now, I should say. It's not shares. But the top two have about 700,000 each rare staked, and then a huge drop off to 105,000 right afterwards. So still early for the curation. On their website, it says, let's see. It says connect and earn, stake on artists and collectors to create a curated list, support creativity, and earn. Explore curated lists to discover new art, artists, collectors, and communities. Build your own list to broadcast your taste and patronage. I honestly, I don't really have an opinion on this. I don't know. I know what Super Rare is, right? It's like one of the number one. It's I think the number one go-to platform for one-of-one art. It's still everything's still minted to one contract, so it is somewhat of a closed garden. Although a lot of great art is still there. We covered this, I think, last week that Super Rare on, I think it was last Thursday, had 0.8 ETH in sales.
Yeah.
Less than 1 ETH in sales.
Bro, in other words, gotta do something. Can you imagine that community that meetup in the office, where it's like we are this is last legs. I don't know how much runway they have. I wouldn't imagine it's much, and they're just taking shots here. I wish them all the best. I hope they are able to do something, but it just doesn't seem like, is this going to get you to go on Super Rare and buy some art? It's like dead. The market's super dead. This feels like a last ditch kind of effort, sadly.
It still just comes down to, I know we all want to support artists, but 10% royalties, I think, is just really hard for people to get themselves to do now in this place. We'll see what happens with Rare Bull. They've come out firing. They've moved to royalty only platform. They also partnered with Manifold and somebody else recently. It seems like there's actually a decent amount of traction there. So next Tuesday, we're actually hosting our show. Next Tuesday, we do the show every Tuesday and Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. We're featuring the Rareable founder, Alex. He's going to be on our show to talk about royalty, so we can really dive into.
I can't wait to see what he says about this, man. I'm really seriously, because it's like you want to have this, like we want to hear what the insiders really feel about it. So I'm psyched to learn.
Yeah, I've never had an opportunity to chat with him, so I'm really excited about that. Make sure that you guys pin that. He even tweeted about it. I'll pin it to the top once we go into the next topic. So really excited for that. One of our other favorite art collections, the one that the community never shuts up about, is those neon squiggles, is finally minting out after
genius. It's genius, Jake.
3 years, dude. Almost 3 years to mint out 10,000. If you don't know the story, Snowfro held back 1,000 of them to sell and mint, which I think is really kind of what's going to happen here in the future, or we're moving back to this meta where artists are just going to have to hold back percentage of their supply to sell on people. And if you do it like Snowfro, it worked out really well. I mean, obviously created art blocks and stuff, but this guy made a freaking killing in these last 1,000 of them. He sold the last 62. He said number 998 will go to a special commemorative thing that he's going to announce soon. And 999 is going to go to the LACMA. I think that's like the LA Historic Museum. I don't know what the acronyms start, but I know he lives in LA. I don't know, man. I think this is a pretty good blueprint for art, although it is 10,000. And then Larva Labs also has a good blueprint as well with holding it back. I just think this is where we're going to go back to. Also, Snowfro did a pretty good job. He created like a whole show about it, about launching it, which is kind of funny because the community hates, diluting the supply, and he's making a whole show about diluting the supply, and everyone's like rewarding him and cherishing him to do this.
You gotta pump their bags, bro. They gotta pump their bags,
Yeah, it just comes down to the person behind it. I feel like if it feels authentic and it doesn't feel like they're gouging their community for money, then people tend to will get behind it. At the end of the day.
I tweeted out, I think a couple days ago, I tweeted out, hey, at least it's the end of these no more scam squiggles tweets on X anymore. I mean, like his was like the number one, at least a few months ago, is like nothing but scam squiggle posts on X, is like so I'm glad that's finally over. Like, we're not gonna be scammed by any more fake Snowfro accounts,
Fake Snowfros. Pump my bags, pump my engagement. This was an interesting article throughout that we found on Polygon. What is this? Lufthansa. Lufthansa. It's a non-American one, so you can see that I totally butchered that.
You've never flown Lufthansa, man? Great airline.
The airline launches an NFT loyalty program on Polygon. This kind of seems out of the blue, but I'm seeing a lot more traditional companies start creating NFT loyalty programs using L2s more specifically, whether it's Polygon or Optimism or Arbitrum or Base now. I think this is kind of where the future of a lot of these corporations are going to go. They tried the whole private blockchain thing over the last 10 years. Turns out no one cares about private blockchains. So they need to use the public infrastructure and the liquidity of a public infrastructure.
Yep.
But they're moving to L2s because they do contain some sort of control over and some centralization, which if you're, a traditional company, it is an absolute must. You can't let degens manipulate your flight passes and stuff like that. You got to have some sort of control over this. But it's just, Polygon's hanging in there. They do have a lot of partnerships. Maybe they paid for this one, which they did a lot. The D-Gods and the Utes thing did not work out, right? So they're getting $3 million back. Tell me your thoughts on this. Have you ever also flown on this airline before?
Yeah, I've flown on Lufthansa. I think it's what this is another win for the Polygon team. Like Polygon is kind of owning this relationship with corporate America. Or in this case, corporate Europe. But this is the second one I know of. I talked with actually one of the guys who built one for Baltic Air in Europe very successfully. Their NFTs for Baltic Air, it's been accepted. They use a native crypto wallet. It's awesome, man. And this is the future. Like this is the silly use cases, just boots on the ground use case for NFT that are just seriously better than the old way. And we saw it with Starbucks. Now the airlines are doing it. Like in a decade, it's going to be this way. All these rewards, the things that are pennies or $1 or nothing, NFTs on public blockchains. It just makes sense. So yeah, support Lufthansa. And this is the future, man. It's not all squiggly lines for thousands of dollars. Most of it is just cups of coffee and airline miles. And it's awesome. Love it.
Can I chime in here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because Lufthansa is a German airline, right? So I have to support them a bit. So it's not like one of these smaller airlines. So they are doing 15 billion in revenues. It's like one of the I'm not sure whether it's the largest, but one of the largest European airlines. So that's definitely a big news, right?
Yep.
And it's also one of the oldest airlines. I think they're almost 100 years old. So this is definitely not like some newcomer or some, startup or a small guy. This is really like one of the key airlines. They have a very, very big frequent flyer program, which is like they are very big in business, right? So they are not like so much in retail, but it's really like very heavy in business, and where the frequent flyer programs are extremely important. So this is definitely big news.
The stats here, it says there have been over 20,000 signups and 200,000 NFT trading cards minted. Lufthansa Group's Johannes Walter told Cointelegraph in an interview that decentralization and tokenization will bring about new opportunities for new business models. It also says that the United Arab Emirates largest airline company, Emirates, also announced its plan to accept Bitcoin payments and launch NFTs as well.
Yeah, I mean, just to like give an idea of what's possible, like with Air Baltic, it's like, you know, if you held one of their NFTs, you earned air miles every day for just holding their NFTs. Is whatever you get 10 a day. But dude, it's like the guy told me, like, dude, these things, people don't give them up, they don't sell them, you know, because if you use that airline, it's like Southwest in the United States, right? If you use it, of course, you're just going to hold those NFTs. The NFTs have value. It's just one of those things where this is where NFTs just make sense.
Yeah, Starbucks has been crushing it. I haven't participated in the Starbucks loyalty program, but I do see it pop up on my timeline pretty often. Again, it's this non-speculative aspect of crypto that is beginning to emerge that a lot of the degens don't participate in because there's no money to be made, or at least it's a different type of way to make money. Like with these, you have to flip these NFTs and you have to really get into the ecosystem to figure it out and find the right people. It's very, very early. It's not just like flipping JPEGs on OpenSea. So it is interesting. And just like a side story as well, you know, I live out in Las Vegas, and I had been, you know, I have friends on the gaming control board and hosted meetups in here. And 2 years ago, we had talked about crypto in Vegas. And ultimately, they said, you know, crypto, like gambling, like Bitcoin on the craps table probably never happened because this source of funds is like one of the issues. It always goes back to Silk Road. But they were very open to NFTs. And recently, in the last 2 months, Stations Casinos, which is the ones that owned UFC, that they just sold it for $4 billion, they launched their own NFT loyalty program in these freaking slot machines. You basically have an NFT. It's called Charms. And you take this NFT, it ties to your reward points, and then you go gamble. And if you plug in these charms, then you get basically quadruple points for your loyalty points, right? It's the same thing here, loyalty program. But the cool thing that I thought is you can actually take these charms off. It's not a closed garden. You could go buy these on like OpenSea, stuff like that. It was something I never thought would happen. Even the old archaic casino companies are hopping in on the loyalty stuff. I think it's just like a no-brainer. You'll probably see the majority of these large companies go down this road, whether you're an airline or a casino or used car business, right? Like you'll have the options to do it. So very, very exciting times, to say the least.
Awesomeness, man.
Yeah. I think we're going to close it up here, man.
One little word of news, just because it popped through my Discord. Our good friends at Hero Wallet have rebranded. Did you see this, Jake?
No, what?
They're going to be called Leather, which I actually think is actually a really good name.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah, bro, go in.
Is it on
I was like, what is that? I've never signed up for that Discord. They changed their logo to like this sweeping L. And I was like, what is this? Who's hacked my Discord? Turns out it's Hero, and they're rebranding to Leather, which I think has, like, when you think of wallets, you do think of leather. So a kind of stylized and new name. I think they're having a space in like 20 minutes or so. I'm going to might pop it.
Yeah, Hero Wallet is now Leather. We're building Leather to be the only Bitcoin wallet you need to tap into the emerging Bitcoin economy. Ordinal stacks, DLCs, stamps, BNS, BRC20 plus Lightning, and more. Coming soon. It says Leather represents our dedication to building a Bitcoin wallet that can both stand the test of time and adapt to emerging trends. We're also doubling down on accessibility to ensure that non-technical users from around the world can safely tap into the Bitcoin economy. Yeah, this was posted 43 minutes ago. Wow. And a little side story, which I didn't even know, you know, Hero Wallet actually used to be part of Blockstack, which is what started Stacks. And Blockstack split into two companies when they moved to Stacks 2.0. Half the company became Stacks, the other half became Hero Systems, which now Hero Systems has Hero Wallet, which is now Leather. Just keeps splitting. It's like a stock split. Right? the block stock split. Oh, funny. Yeah, I want to hop into that conversation too. So we'll end it here. Dogfather, give us some final words and some encouragement about Dot Friends.
Yeah, just try it out. So we will reach out to many communities. If your community is not included, you can hop on the Oddbit Discord or just slide in my DMs. I think we will figure out a way to onboard you, particularly, the OGs who are still around. But this is why building in the bear is cool, because just cool people are around, right? I mean, those that are really serious, like Kane, people who know stuff and have some history in the space. That's the people we want to have on early on, right? So you just try it out. It costs you $1 or $2, and you never know where this is going. So just try it out.
Pays
Awesome.
to be early. Remember, next Tuesday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, we're hosting Alex, the founder of Rarible. We're going to talk about royalties and marketplaces. We host a show every Tuesday and Thursday at that time, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and we'll see you Tuesday.
Thanks, guys.